Well, if you're anything like me, you know that life can often feel like one long roller coaster on some days. On other days, it can feel like one very swift roller coaster. I was speaking with some friends recently, and they said, wait until you turn 40. Life has a way of speeding up. A few years ago, when I was in school at Boston University, there was a broad spectrum of ages represented in my particular cohort. One gentleman was about 30 years older than me, in his 60s at the time. And I asked him whether or not the program for him and his cohort had gone by quickly. He was 63 and he looked at me with a smile and said, at my age, everything goes quickly. What about you today, friend? How would you describe the pace corresponding to the place of life that you're in right now? Maybe you feel as though you're on that upward ticking climb of a roller coaster, anticipating the thrills to come. Or maybe you feel like you're on the upside down portion of a loop and you're waiting to be right side up. Or maybe it feels like it's coming to an end a lot sooner and swifter than you thought. Maybe it's not your own roller coaster ride that is on your mind, but maybe you're looking at the roller coaster ride of life for someone else, a loved one, a friend, a family member, a coworker, a colleague, a peer. Even just peering over into their reality can flood our lives with different kinds of emotions. It's because of the pace and the place in life that we find ourselves that we are on this journey towards emotional wellness. Welcome back, my friend. And I'm praying today that this third bridge towards emotional wellness will be a blessing to you. Do you remember the first two bridges? If not, go back and check out our previous videos. The first one was exploring our family of origin stories for gifts. And the second one was exchanging limiting beliefs for life giving beliefs. And I hope that you've been operating under those principles already. I want you, my friends, to join me now as we continue our conversation, Bridges to Emotional Wellness. Yesterday, I shared one of my personal favorite books, 14,000 Things to Be Happy About, from author Barbara Ann Kipfer. I'm feeling generous, so I want to share with you another one of Barbara Ann Kipfer's books, and it's called 8,789 Words of Wisdom. Proverbs, precepts, maxims, adages, and axioms to live by. That's a whole lot to live by, isn't it? There are a few things that stand out to me about this particular book. One is that she draws slices of life and the wisdom that they offer to share with us. And over time, she has compiled over 8,000. I want to share a few of them with you. She says, understanding what is in our control and what is not in our control is an important element of a happy life. I like that one. She says, praise twice as much as you criticize. Wouldn't that be a powerful maxim to take with you into this day? What if I offered twice as much praise as I do criticism? And what if I were on the receiving end of twice as much praise as criticism? People can change. So give them the benefit of the doubt. Maintain the utmost respect for human life. Don't allow your barometer or sensitivity towards the value of human life to go down. Maintain the utmost respect. But here's one that stood out to me and it caused me to pause relating to today's conversation. Barbara Ann Kipfer says, not everyone recovers from tragedy in the same amount of time. Can you relate to that, my friend? Can you relate to the reality of tragedy in your life's experience or perhaps the experiences of those close to you? I have a sneaky suspicion that right now, when you heard that word tragedy, certain events, experiences, relationships came to mind without you even trying. I want you to imagine the scene with me as you enter into the funeral home. You've parked your car, you're hand in hand with your significant other, your child, or your parent. The room is filled with a thickness of emotional instability. You're not ready to see that loved one in this particular situation. It's not that you're unfamiliar with illness, and it's not that you're unfamiliar with death, but it hits close to home. And as you enter in, you cannot help but involuntarily cry and weep. Now, maybe you're that kind of person who doesn't really like to cry in public, but the nature of this particular situation is of such where you just can't help yourself. And my friends, I know that you have been in that situation before, where you have been on the other side of personal loss. And I want you to know, my friend, that in the shadows and in the clouds of those moments is a third invitation to walk across a bridge towards emotional wellness. Our third bridge today that we're walking across together with sensitivity and compassion in our hearts is embracing God's gift of grieving. Embracing God's gift of grieving. Would you just release an exhale with me? Yeah. When's the last time you have sighed a sorrowful sigh? When's the last time you could relate to that image that I just shared with you of an open or a closed casket? When's the last time you've been in the realm of mourning with other people who are mourning the loss of a loved one? If you have been anywhere in that kind of experience recently, then you know something about grief. And today I want to position grief as a gift of God. I love what this one definition says. Jamie Anderson says, grief, I've learned, is really just love. It's all the love you want to give but cannot. All of that unspent love gathers up in the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in that hollow part of your chest. Grief is just love with no place to go. I can relate to that. The unspent love, the accumulated love built up over time in relationship with a friend or loved one that has nowhere to go when life comes to a sudden stop. But check this out. Vicky Harrison says grief is like the ocean. It comes in waves, ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm and sometimes it is overwhelming. All we can do is learn to swim. How are you swimming today? Are you navigating the pools of grief with the doggy paddle? Are you backstroking through it? Are you breaststroking, butterflying through it, freestyling through it? Or maybe you're saying, I am sinking in the sea of grief, and I feel as though I'm going to suffocate and drown. Here's what I've learned. Kubler-Ross presents to us what we have come to know as a cycle of grief, beginning with shock and denial, continuing with anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I want you to be clear today, friends, that that process is not linear. It does not happen in a neat sequence. If you have ever been in grief, you know that it can be up one day, down one day, across the street today, in my bed tomorrow with the lampshades closed. Because we do not only grieve the loss of life, we grieve broken hearts, unmet dreams, suspended realities, isolation, crises of faith, and losses of various kinds can produce grief. But remember today, friends, grief is a gift of God. Noted Christian psychologist Dr. Henry Cloud puts it this way in his book with John Townsend in their book, How People Grow. They say one of the most important processes in life is grief. God has designed grief to help us get over things. When bad things happen in life, we have to work through them. Working through bad things is a little like digesting food. In life, we basically digest experience. We walk through it, take it in, use what is useful, and eliminate the waste. What do you think about that probing explanation of the gift of grace, the gift of grief? It is something that is not bad, but actually a gift God has given us to metabolize, to process, to be able to walk through what often are the unspeakable realities of life. And so today, my friends, as we embrace this gift of grieving given to us by God, I want you to know that a part of your integrated experience, as not just a head and not just a heart, not just your thoughts and not only your feelings, but You are a whole person. Grieving is an expression of the image of God in your life. I want to say that again. To grieve is an expression of you being made in the image of God. You are supposed to feel the feelings you feel on the other side of life's losses, disappointments, unexplained realities. And there are some steps that we can take to help us walk across this bridge of grieving. Number one, as we embrace the gift of grieving, remember grief is a process, not a task. Ooh, let me say it slower and softly. Grief is a process, not a task. Sometimes we can feel compelled to attend to our own grief or the grief of others as though it were a household chore. But I want us to recalibrate our thinking. Grief is actually a process. It's a process that doesn't always have neat timelines next to it. We're not always sure when we're going to be in what stage, but it's just important to give ourselves the grace of knowing that what I don't accomplish in its entirety today, I can continue to invest in tomorrow. It also invites us to be patient with other people as they navigate grief. Listen to this: grief unfolds over time and cannot be rushed. Ooh. Allow space for your unique timeline and emotional expression rather than pushing to move on. You've felt that, haven't you? Maybe it was external pressure, but often it's internal pressure. I should be beyond this. Why am I stuck here? Why am I still feeling the way I feel? Do you know how much time has elapsed? But my friends, give yourself grace. It's a process. And we don't always arrive at acceptance or reacclimating to a new reality in life on the very next day after the loss that we are grieving. It's a process, not a task. Number two, accept presence without solutions. Accept the ministry of presence without solutions. See, so often we can be tempted to feel that if people are going to be in our presence, that their words or their presence needs to come with a list of solutions. And whereas I can understand that, often we're wanting to get out of the funk that we're in, sometimes the greatest gift is simply the gift of presence. One of my fondest moments in ministry was several years ago when I was invited to be present in the home of a dear member of mine whose father was on hospice care. Now, at that time, I thought hospice care was in a hospice care center. I didn't realize that people can be on hospice care in their own home or the home of a family member. And it was the latter that characterized this situation. And I'll be honest, friends, when the member invited me over, I didn't really know what I was going to say or how I was going to pray. And I felt kind of a bit of anxiety about going into that space without knowing what solutions to offer. But do you know what I found out? Some of the most powerful, poignant, and poetic moments didn't have any words. It was literally just sharing space. And if the individual happened to speak, that was amazing. If I felt inclined to offer a word of inquiry to ask them about their lives, that was fine. But just being present, I found, was enough. And so it is with you today, friends. You can accept presence without solutions. The Bible says in Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The Lord offers to us his presence even when he does not offer his explanations. He offers us his presence even when he does not give us answers to our why questions. He will not always surround us with clarity about the chaos or the confusion. Some things we'll just understand better by and by. But here is what we can rest in: the presence of God is a healing, holding, and comforting presence. Number three, as we cross this journey, this bridge towards emotional wellness as we grieve, we want to practice repeating stories. I'll never forget just a few years ago visiting a dear sister who had suddenly and tragically lost one of her children, her eldest, her son. And as I entered into the room where she was, No lie, she repeated some of the same stories 3 to 4 times. It was as though she didn't realize she was rehearsing and repeating the same stories. And what I realized in that moment is that grief often compels you to repeat stories because that's actually a part of grief's job. It brings back memories. And I want you to know that you are free to repeat stories. In fact, sometimes it's one of the most healing rituals to actually bring back up those family vacations, to rehearse the times where you were in that season of life, to be able to think about how the family pet brought so much joy to the family home, to be able to go back in time and get back into the feelings of those moments gone by, because in repeating the stories, we refresh the heart. When you repeat the stories, you refresh the heart. See, Jesus told us this when often after delivering the children of Israel, he would have them erect monuments so that in future generations, stories could be repeated to buoy their confidence and their faith. And so it is with us, my friends. We have a chance as we navigate grief to heal and refresh the heart by repeating the stories. Who says amen to that? And then finally, as we navigate this gift of grief, remember grief and hope can coexist. You see, my friends, I cannot promise you a life that is immune from grief or the loss that precedes it. I cannot promise you that you will always be able to climb up a set of crystal stairs and that life for you will never have tears. I can't promise you that even those that you love who seem to be in the picture of health will not experience sudden illness. I can't promise you that all things will go according to your plans. But what I can submit to you today is that your grieving and your hoping do not have to be mutually exclusive. They can hold hands in the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood. It is possible to grieve and have hope at the same time. And my friends, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 13 actually says, as you root your faith in Jesus Christ, he does not remove the capacity to grieve. He just puts hope right there in the same room as grief, sharing space, encouraging one another, allowing us to know that, yes, I will grieve, but I'm hoping for a beautiful, brighter, and a better day after a while. Oh, my friends, I'm enjoying walking across these bridges together, and I hope that you are experiencing emotional wellness, renewal, and refreshing as you explore your family of origin story for gifts, as you exchange limiting beliefs for life-giving beliefs, and today, as you permit yourself to embrace God's gift of grieving. Let us be healed together, even through our tears, because we know the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and he saves those who are contrite in spirit. I can't wait to see you next time. Until then, may God bless you and keep you, is my prayer.